It is. Hi, here we are. So I want to welcome everybody, and I'm here. This is their first live uh, interview video, if you will, of the new year. And welcome, Simon. Hi, buddy.
Thanks, David. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Um, I never claimed to be the tech wizard, right? And so I've always got to just check and see if yes, we are. We are.
Oh, you're checking we're live.
I was just checking to see if we are, um, live on the, and we are. That's great. Okay, so we're up on the Valley and Beyond Facebook page, and we're on Zoom here, and
Whoa.
and we should be live on YouTube as well. So. Uh,
Awesome.
Welcome to those of you who would be on Facebook. If you see us there, please come by. And I'm just going to share it there a couple of times. There are people there. That's great. Okay. Um, Welcome. Just for those of you that are watching or going to watch over the next little while, Simon and I go back a few years, eh?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
2 or 3 now, I think, and
yeah.
although um, I feel like the last year that I've lost touch with a lot of people in a way, because we've been uh, my circle has gotten smaller
Yeah.
in a way, and would you say the same?
Yeah, I would say um, different boundaries, I think, is maybe. I was always very open to kind of everything, and then there's just this kind of the last little bit I've kind of altered my boundaries a little bit with what kind of stuff I want to deal with anymore. And I was always kind of a bit of a helper, I guess, trying to heal everybody, and
Yes.
that's not always that beneficial for myself or for other people, actually. So that's been some of a lesson for me for sure. And
I don't know if I understand. I think that what I was chatting about was just saying that this last year, it's almost been a year that I feel like I've been a recluse a bit, uh,
I guess so.
more directed by circumstance than by my own choices.
Oh, we've had a different stream though, right? Because you were had your store and you're very kind of you with lots of people. Like you had a lot of people around you. I was the opposite. I was well, I had an accident, right? So I was in it. I spent 3 or 4 years basically not really leaving my house a hell of a lot, to be honest. So for me, it's actually I felt like I've met more people and spent more time with people. Because I went for a bit where I was just literally all I would see was my wife, daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
different doctors here and there, and that was it for quite a few years. So for me, it's actually feel like I'm seeing a lot more people, but I can totally understand for a
Are
majority.
you seeing people face to face much?
Well, not really now, no, but uh, during the before the last little bit where they've kind of shifted things again, yeah, I was starting to see people quite a bit actually. So
So
um,
in the summer,
yeah, yeah, in different ways, like yeah, just different, I guess. Yeah, just
tell me about this last year. How has it been for you? Like, what have you? Are you still doing business?
uh, well, I was just starting business just before it happened. It was I'd spent many years kind of recuperating from my stuff that I'd been through, and kind of I reached a point where I was like, you know what, it's time for me to get out there. And then about 2 months later, this all kind of happened, and then we were shut down. But yeah, my wife has been the main income earner, and yeah, she's a photographer, so basically. Um, she takes pictures of people. So if there's no people, there's no business. So yeah, for her it was like zero, absolutely nothing from kind of running at max speed to kind of nothing in the space of a few days, it kind of felt like. So yeah,
Wow.
so yeah, there was stresses and stuff obviously that came with that, and but benefits as well. She actually, I think she personally found some space to kind of reassess in that time as well.
Have you guys, so it's been maybe a little stressful financially then?
Uh, yes, yeah, but we kind of had that for a few years because I had massive medical bills and stuff for a while there, so we were bleeding money for quite a while, and so we almost kind of got kind of, it was good practice actually for this because we were kind of on a pretty reasonable budget, I guess, for ourselves. So when this happened, the kind of upset was that Catherine's business was getting really busy, so it was kind of, she was really enjoying, I think,
Yes.
you know, kind of when you put a lot of effort into something and it really starts to start going because you've been in business, you know that.
Yeah.
That I think that was kind of a disappointment, but at the same time, it kind of shone a light on some things that she was like, wow, I wish I wasn't. I'm actually quite happy that I'm not running as fast and doing all this stuff that I was and doing all this, and maybe doing some stuff for not enough money, some stuff she was kind of almost doing for free, other things she was charging too much for. So it kind of, I don't know, for us, it was a good rebalance, I guess, in a lot of ways. So
Good for you.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could have lost our minds about it, and it would be very easy to do so. We had good reason to, but
Well, I think that's what we're going to talk about next is losing our
yeah,
minds.
yeah, yeah,
And what the nature of the problem
yes, yeah,
is the mind. I was talking with a lady a few, maybe an hour or two ago. And you know how there's this common saying um, that we've all kind of accepted that if something happens in our life, that we kind of wash it with this idea that, oh, at least I got the lesson.
mm-hmm.
And this came up in the conversation, something we were chatting about, and she said, well, as long as we don't miss the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's actually a meme. It's like it's it's not true. First of all, in a way, it is if we're living from the mind. If our intention is to continue to live from the mind or the ego, then we're looking for the lesson all the time, so that we can somehow make the mind more a better manager. And it seemed to me that the experience that you had allowed you to drop the mind, and to have direct, uh, to become one with all that is. It doesn't exclude the mind, but you're not. From my experience with you in the past, it seemed that you're not dependent on the mind, and
No, no, but I've spent a lot of time in there, and it's easy to go back in there.
it is. But
But
I just caught this little saying because it actually is a little doorway that takes us back into the mind.
yeah,
Um, and it's an accepted one. It's like, well, as long as we don't miss the lesson, or as long as we get the lesson, or I guess that came for a lesson. And as soon as I believe that, I'm making up a story about what the lesson is.
true. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I remember at one point actually, I was just like, I'm done with lessons. I remember thinking that partway through, I was just like, you know, I'm done with learning through mistakes. So I made this adamant sort of thing. I'm like, I'm done of making everything a mistake and a kind of a refixing it, and just becoming more present, I guess, is the, and just
With
kind of
what is.
more flow, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, with what is, and to recognize that from the mind, I actually don't know what is from the mind, because the mind is just always, everything that it says is subjective. It's not, it comes with its opinions. It comes with its base in fear, or base in not good enough, or base in
Sure.
self-pity.
Based on old programming or old beliefs
Yes.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's you know, it's, that has its benefits. I mean, I sometimes, if things are really like, I really have kind of fallen apart, I'll kind of look at what someone, I heard a saying once. I think it's someone called Magenta Pixie. Someone, they said, for every fist that flies at you, always look in the palm for the gift, basically. And so sometimes if I've really kind of, you know, when you get in a bit of a pickle,
But still, isn't that from the mind? Like that's
It is.
another, it's
Yeah.
another, in a way, and forgive me for, because if the whole thing is to be here now,
Yes.
then all of those sayings are to take us out of that. We're looking for something in, something to justify, or something to have a story about, or something to, you know what I mean? We're
I do.
still in right or wrong, good or bad.
Yes.
uh and with those sayings, and even what you just said, whoever said this thing, that, the silver lining, or the
Yeah.
gift
Yeah.
in the palm, is again from the mind. It's
It is. Yeah. But there's sometimes when things fall about or fall apart so much that sometimes it's a quick way sometimes to come in back into balance and
is
being
that
present.
balance, so
For me, I can from it. Yeah. So I don't know. It's I don't try and go down one route. I don't think for kind of everything, but generally, whenever I feel like everything's kind of aligned, I am just present. So that is kind of my way to always kind of.
so only when things seem to be aligned you're present, or is there
No,
an
no, no,
intent
not
to
at all.
be?
No. See, so aligned. I mean that I can is more. I'm just kind of witnessing, and I'm not.
Yeah, because who's to say what's aligned?
Oh yeah, I mean I've had moments where actually this was actually not long ago, just before Christmas, I got almost vertigo, and for no reason, it just came out of nowhere. I couldn't stand up straight, and it kind of brought up all of these kind of things about old past illnesses and stuff like this, and I just was present with it, but there was nothing feeling aligned about that moment. Like it was, I felt very unaligned, like I couldn't walk straight. So it was, um,
But
yeah,
you were present.
I was, yeah. So it's kind of it's kind of a double-edged sword. You use these words to explain what it is, but you can't use words to explain what it is. It,
You were right. So
yeah,
imagine that we're dying.
yeah. Which physically we are the day you're born, I guess, really. So
Well, and that's a, a bit of a, I don't know if the right word's platitude, but that's, yes, okay, we'll
mm,
give it that. But let's imagine that uh, we're in bed,
yeah.
and we know that, you know, maybe the lungs are full. We
Mm-hmm.
know that it's imminent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the preference is to be present.
I don't think you have a choice for anything else. I've actually had two situations in life where I was at that point, and through one was an accident, and one was the repercussions of an accident. And in both of those moments, it was actually challenging not to be present. It's a lot of stuff just disappears. Actually, a lot of
Yes.
you don't worry about money kind of disappears. And don't get me wrong, I don't relish those moments. They were good, but I remember very deeply in those moments that a lot of stuff just disappeared. Actually, a lot of pain actually disappeared. Time slowed down a bit. Um, yeah, it was a different experience. Like I see them as kind of a
So you think you just came naturally present, or was it as a result of practice,
uh,
or awareness?
me. I think now, like my general everyday, it's practice. I think, yeah, it was practice that sometimes just letting go of the mind, really, so that you can be present. But I kind of see being present as when you're really, like I've had moments when I was in really rough shape mentally and physically, and in those moments, the present seems like a really tiny little spot that when you get to it, you fall out of it really easily. And then, but the more time you spend there, the present seems to get larger, basically. Like it's almost like a larger container that you can sit
Yeah. So
in.
who falls out of it?
Well, the mind, really. Yeah. Well, no, it's not, you just go into the mind and then you're not
Because
really,
is the presence in the mind, or is it beyond the mind?
no, I think it's beyond. I see that usually the mind is what takes me out of being present. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you're beyond the mind in a present moment awareness, in a even beyond the observer, observing the observer, maybe beyond the observer who's observing the observer, you're in this infinite space.
Yeah.
um and then whatever's happening in the moment around on the outside has very little relevance. I get that. time, money, even the presence of family may not be relevant in that moment of presence. So what brings us out of that,
Oh,
and who
want,
is it comes
want,
out?
usually want stuff, old beliefs, I find.
So wanting, yeah, beliefs.
I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, obviously. I'm not speaking for every
Well,
person.
that's fine. That's who you're the only one I'm asking. But I got I
Yeah,
got
probably. Yeah, so let me go back into, I don't want to spend too much time in times where I didn't want to sit, but yeah, usually it's wanting or feeling and
desire.
desire, yeah, needing stuff, physical, like physical um addictions, really. Like, I mean, it's all addictions, really. Like, even thoughts are addictions. There's certain chemicals that you want to keep feeling. So but yeah, so yeah, a lot of it's just wanting. Sometimes it's habit, right? Like, it's habit. It's scary, actually. I remember times when it was scary to be present, and it was scary to be present because it made me very aware of what it was like when I wasn't present. So there was times, especially after my head injury, I was really stuck in the mind. And then when I read The Power of Now, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
okay, this is it. I'm going to be present all the time. That's what I said. That's it. Read this book. That's what I'm going to do. No more mind. And I got in there for a couple of days. Like, it was a lot of effort. It felt like a lot of physical effort and mental effort. And as I went, after a while, it was really great. And then I started to think, well, I could fall out of this. And then as soon as you think of that, it's inevitable what's going to happen, right?
Mhm.
And it was painful to go back to being what I was experiencing right before. So then I had thoughts coming up of, well, do you really want to be present? Because then when you do, you get this big jolt when you go back to it. So it was a lot of just a lot of it. I mean, these are just my experiences, obviously, but yeah, that was it gave me a lot of I use the word compassion, empathy for lots of things I'd seen in life that maybe I'd taken for granted in other people.
Do you think the judgment takes us out of the moment?
Oh, well, yeah, I think anything that creates a good or bad, yes or no, that's
So
right, that's wrong.
a
Those are,
strong position,
yeah, sorry, I didn't catch the last bit.
a strong position then?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because
No.
if you're in a position, there's something opposed to it, basically, usually, anyway. So
Yes. Yeah.
so yeah, so but there's also a lot of wonderful stuff that comes in those points as well. So they're kind of, it's nice for people to be in a group, right, where they're against something else. You can get a lot of like the release
You,
of a lot of
you,
wonderful chemicals that make you feel part of a tribe and stuff like that. And so that's kind of, that
but
can be really,
it's very shallow though, isn't it? I mean,
it is,
yes, we've all been there.
yeah,
And for tribes that are for this thing or against that thing.
yeah,
And but it's my experience this year is that it, it not that this is wrong or right
hmm,
or good or bad, but just that it's all in the story, all in the ego, all in the mind, you
yeah,
know, and that it is possible to live in the oneness, in that, to be that I am that, and still function.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Um, I remember. Sorry if am I cutting you off, or
no, I'm actually just throwing these out here so that you will.
yeah, you're bringing up memories here. So, I remember my mind telling me at one time when I was playing with kind of being present and mindful. It was like, well, you won't succeed at anything if you do this. Those are the words that came up in my head, because it said you won't be motivated, you won't you won't be able to get stuff done. You won't work quick. Because, when I was present all the time, especially because I was meditating a lot, I couldn't move my back a lot. So a lot of time I sat in a chair. But I remember it would tell me all the time that these voices, like, you won't succeed at anything, because my whole life I've been rushing around, doing everything flat out, or just
Get
having
shit,
lots of
shit
fun.
done. Getting
Yeah,
shit done.
yeah, just having lots of fun, and none of these things were like terrible. And I created some wonderful things and had great experiences, but
Yes.
it all became unusual, and it all became, and those kind of parts of me were kind of, they were like, oh, I'm unhidden. He's onto us. It was almost like there was this new inner conflict that I hadn't been aware of before, because I was part of the stream and not aware that I was in it before. So yeah, it was it's interesting. Like but it can be very frustrating as well if you are resistant to it. It can actually be really challenging as well. So it kind of sets you free and at the same time it can feel like it's creating a whole new world of stuff that you maybe just didn't want to be a part of. But then once you've been in there, you can't get out. Like you
Too
can't.
late. Too late.
Once you've seen it, you're done. So
Too late.
yeah. So it's kind of sort of now, but I can remember myself sitting in the room. I used to write lots of pieces of paper and stuff, and it was confusing. Like it really was confusing, and my mind was kind of bogged anyway because of the accidents and stuff. So it was a very surreal time. I remember it, but a lot of people live like that all the time. It's yeah, that's just what it was basically. So, but you can make your way through it.
So it seems to me that when we are aware of, or I don't want to say connected to, because that means there's two, but when we are in the one, when we are one with universal intelligence, when we've stepped beyond the mind,
Mm-hmm.
and we're still here in the practical, and
Mm-hmm.
and that eventually, if not right away, but eventually, whatever our purpose is, if there's something for us to do here,
Mm-hmm.
and usually in the area, I would say always in the area of service, whatever it is, will become apparent. There may be money in it, there may not be, it doesn't really matter, but it'll become apparent. And as we are living more in the moment, connected, or with the universal intelligence available to this, we are this, we are that, that we actually flow into whatever it is that needs doing. If we, because many of us, have struggled trying to find our purpose, and and with the ego trying to manage our way into success in whatever our purpose is. But generally, ego has said, well, no, that's actually not our purpose. Our purpose is here. It's been managing, and my experience lately is that, because I've been spending a lot more time, um, I don't know if I want to say but I this has been, um, experiencing more of what you've talked about over the years that I've known you, which is that oneness, that that infinite, the alpha, the omega, the God, if you will, love, unconditional, and from there, we have access to, we are totally plugged into all power,
Yeah.
all all love, and purpose, uh, and purpose just becomes apparent. Would you agree with?
I would again, just from self experience, I've always wanted to help people. Like I never really did it, but I always wanted to help people, but I never really did, I think.
Isn't that what you're doing now?
But now I am, yeah. Like now I've kind of I've seen more value in it, I guess. But prior I was more wanting to help people, but maybe following kind of what I've been told, that you need to do this and make money and do.
Yes, from the ego. If I don't know if seeing more value in it is the truth, I don't know if you could not do this now.
Oh no, I couldn't. Yeah, it's it's challenging to explain because it's such a deep inner thing. Like
We're going to give it a go here. This is what we're doing.
yeah. So we spoke about money, and you know, pretty much everything I'm doing is for free.
Yeah.
I just love it so much. But I'm very aware that I have mouths to feed. I have a family, right? We live here, and my wife has worked her butt off to kind of support us while we went through kind of our challenges and stuff. And so I'm very aware of that. But it's still, um, it's not a driver for any of it, and that's a big big part. And I remember anytime I made any success in my own personal development, from like, at one time, if I got 1 minute of being present, just being peaceful and
Yes.
not kind of scattered, that was a big deal, like a huge deal for my day. I would write this in my calendar, like in my journal, to like, today you did 1 minute where you were present and you weren't kind of like, well, you know, losing off the reservation. And those were big moments. But, you know, every time I had one of those, all I felt was such massive gratitude. And I would immediately write, remember how to do this so you can teach someone else when you're able to do this for an hour, or if you're able to do it for 2 hours. Because there was so much suffering in the points when I wasn't, that I just thought that, you know, other people must have had this and I wasn't aware of this to the same degree. And, you know, nobody should feel like this. Or that was my point. And I'll take that back. But at the point at that time, I said, well, nobody should feel this sort of suffering, and I'm going to somehow find a way. Instead of, I think in older times, it may have been like, oh yeah, I got a minute's rest, that's great. It would be very much more personal and just about yourself. But yeah.
So let's imagine that everybody struggles with, you know, we've been indoctrinated in conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually believe that we are that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we think we're our story. We're all convinced that we're uh, what we think we are. In, you know, whatever mom said,
Yeah.
you know, whatever we saw on Disney was the truth of who we are. We said, well, that's who I am. That's who I am. That's who I am. And so we've been living in that. And so I think we all have struggled when we become aware that we're not that, and that we're
Mm.
whatever we are includes that, but we're so much more than that. But that you know, the ego wants to come in with lots of story of doubt. And
Mm-hmm.
my idea about the story and the whole concept of David is it, and the ego in that is that its job that I gave it, allowed it to have, was to defend me, to take care of me, and it thinks it's keeping us safe.
Mm-hmm.
And because, and you know, who's going to look after us if ego doesn't, in the ego's mind, you know? Because I really get that ego cannot see the one. There's the experience that you have of that stillness, of that bliss, of that awareness, of that love that is beyond the ego.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's,
So ego's screaming, where are you going?
yeah,
Hey.
it's give away every penny in your pocket. I, and don't get me wrong, this isn't like every moment of my life isn't feeling like this, but
No,
the really strong moments of it, oh, it's,
nothing's missing.
yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yes, nothing's missing. It is, you know, pure, you know, everything is present. You know, everything is. I loved when I one of the ways I describe it is that nothing's missing. There's
Yes.
nothing's needed. There's no tomorrow. There's no, you know, what's next. It's just this, and we don't need to live in that to have the energy of that to put into our purpose. I
Oh no.
think. No,
And for anyone who's watching that thinks, well, you do need needs, like we have physical needs, if the body needs this, it's just the meaning of a need, I think, just disappears. Like you just let go of, you know that you are going to need water for your body to keep going, and food and sustenance, but that inner yearning that's like, I need this, otherwise I'm going to die, that kind of disappears. A death is kind of, the fear of death is a big thing that kind of disappears in it.
yes.
Yeah, it's challenging to put into words actually, but yeah, I can.
It's always been the problem
Yeah.
for all teachers since really the dawn of time, is how to tell the story without losing, you know, the value. Jesus said, know that be still and know that I am God, you know, that kind of that's in the Christian faith somewhere, you know.
Mhm.
And all of the faiths have told us in many ways that we don't have anything to worry about. There's no need. Fear is from the ego, and and
Yeah.
and,
But
and
it's hard sometimes when you've got, like, you lost your job and someone's left you. It's quite easy to get back into a regular kind of human life, right? And everyone does, and I don't think there's any master on the earth that can't be taken out at some point. Like,
so
it's
let's imagine that not everybody gets this like you do,
okay.
and
Yeah.
that if we don't surrender to it, that it may. I mean, if you're called, I don't know. This is a story, but if you're called,
Sure.
and we still resist the surrender,
Mm.
that the battle will get. We're gonna. The club gets bigger.
Yeah. So that's something that's been very apparent for me
That's a
this last.
metaphor, but the club gets bigger, and
Yeah.
and we're like, holy shit, and so somebody said to me the other day, and this is out of a song, I don't know whose song it is, but freedom is another word for nothing left to lose. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, do we have to go all the way to that to say, okay, I surrender? I I I surrender.
Depends
I
how depends how stubborn you are. Yeah.
I know. How stubborn are you?
I was very stubborn, very bullheaded, and yeah, I took it right to the limit.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I think you're a teacher. I think that I think you could turn the volume up a lot on this gift.
Yeah, that's another thing that's come out. Like, you asked me some questions, and one of them was, what's my, I don't, not goals. I don't really have goals, to be
What's
honest. But
next? What's next?
yeah, to be, what was the word I was going to use? I don't know. Visible, I guess. Visible. That's it.
Yes.
Because I've got nothing to want to force on anybody. I really tell you, because most
But
of the
you don't
stuff.
have to apologize for what you do have.
Yeah. So
Like you've had an experience. We haven't even talked about it yet, but you've had, some pretty big burning bush experiences, if you will, and where,
true.
you felt the presence. You've
Yes.
been all the way to the top of the mountain, so and when you share it, it's quite, it's impactful. People want to hear that.
Yeah, and it's taken me a while to realize that. So that's kind of what's coming out at the moment, I feel. And I got hit with a big club recently, actually. That's what kind of brought this out.
Guess what? It can get worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it was when I had that vertigo, and I had a lot of issues, and I was like, man, it feels like I've just gone back like 5 years to when I just had my accident. Everything fell apart, couldn't stand up straight. And what came out of it is that um I wasn't speaking my truth, really. I was
Yes. Yeah.
and it
You've
was
been
challenging
called.
because a lot of the other people that were speaking it, that I was seeing online and stuff, were screaming at each other. So I was just like, I don't know if I want to speak some truth right now. I got, like, that was the fear I had, right? Like, so and that was a tough one to get past. And for some people it's very easy, but for me it was a big one to kind of push through. So
And you will, I think you will go through, the dissenters, and that's okay.
mhm.
It doesn't really matter. They're not relevant, and it's neither here nor there. Um, and I've had some of that myself, and because I've been very visible this last year, and
Yes.
and I've had friends say, you know pass a bit of opinions, and that's okay. And I've had to look too, and if somebody has something to say, my job is to stop and look and see if there's anything in it,
Yeah.
to- and if there is, to acknowledge, or even if only to myself, okay, yes, I see that. Do I have ego? Fuck yes. And does that disqualify me from carrying this message? No, actually.
In fact, actually, I think all of the from what, I don't know everybody. I don't know. It took a long time for me to learn who all the people are on Earth that speak these sort of things. Like, I was very
Who's
late to the
who
party.
in the zoo?
Yeah, but what I found is that, from what I'm perceiving, is that they all had a lot of big of everything. and that's the only way that they became who they are, because you can't be like, if we were all just oneness on earth, if that is a thing, right? If everyone was just oneness and there wasn't the kind of our human selves, you wouldn't know what oneness was. You've got nothing to compare it to. So it's this dichotomy of kind of without good and bad and stuff, right and wrong and this and that. You
Yes.
can't actually know what oneness is. So it's not a terrible thing, but it can cause a lot of suffering within you. So I think use it as long as it's useful, and then if you've got the skills or someone that can help you to maybe not let rule your life, then it makes life a lot more pleasant from my perspective. So
And whatever the message, however you deliver it, it's all about, in my opinion, about context, and however wanting, let's say, our messages are, if our context is one of love, if
yes,
our intention is to to um, to share love, then
yes,
then it doesn't really, it may be bumpy to others, it might be, and it doesn't really matter, it and even if we fall out of the context and we're sometimes, it seems to me like, or that I'm being angry or I'm being pushy, maybe that's just my judgment of 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 myself. I think that I'm my biggest critic from
yeah,
the ego, from the
totally,
ego,
for
you
sure.
know. But you know who I've been watching a lot? I think I shared with you. I've been watching Muji a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
you did a while back. You told me, yeah,
yeah, the guy is. I have listened to hours, of of his talks, and I listened to his teacher to Papaji, and his teacher to Ramanan Maharishi, which was, goes back 3 or 4 generations, and these guys were amazing. I mean, so clear, and I think that when we hang with guys like that, we get lifted up as well, you know
yep,
and Ram Dass and Eckhart and Dr. David Hawkins, and we're so fortunate to have all of these people, to have our own group, you know
yeah. But I don't know most of them.
well,
Yeah,
I
that's
encourage, I encourage you, because some of them are like, if you listen to Hawkins was he had his PhD in psychology or psychiatry. He was like this amazing scientist and doctor
yeah,
who had, really finally realized he'd been having these awakening experiences, and
yeah,
he kind of pulled it all together in the spiritual realm. And he wrote uh, he built a scale using
yes,
kinesiology or muscle testing. I think we've talked about this.
yeah,
And he built a scale of, from 1 to 1,000, being Christ consciousness, you know,
hmm,
and unconditional love at 540.
hmm,
Imagine if unconditional love is at 540, kind of the middle almost, and Christ consciousness is at 1,000. You know, the journey from 540 to Christ consciousness. Well, in his words, our physical bodies aren't capable of the energy,
yes,
and of that fine a vibration, that no matter how much meditating we do, it's unlikely in physical form that we could have that. But nice to be able to be in the presence of even that conversation.
totally. Yeah, yeah, for sure. My wife actually, it's this. You're talking about presence, and this is interesting that when she did a lot of martial arts, she's a black belt in, I can't remember what, and she met a monk once when she was probably about, I think she said she was 18. Hope I'm not butchering this story. But
Okay.
anyway, she said when she walked into the room with him, she could just feel him. Like she could just feel his presence. And it was, I don't know how long the conversation was, but I remember her saying that she got a hug, and that when she got a hug, she was just full of emotion and tears and stuff. And
Yes.
yeah,
And
so it's palpable. Like
yeah.
it is palpable, and I've done it myself. So I am not, I don't know what level to, but obviously, um, Yeah, and I know it's palpable. I had people come up to me and say stuff when I'm at my best, as it were, I guess. So, so
Well, isn't that just our natural state, though? One of the things that Hawkins
yeah,
says,
totally. That's why
and
babies are so wonderful.
yes, that's why I mean we collapse around babies, and we're like,
Yeah,
oh, we because they're love. They are love.
puppies and kittens, and it's
Yes.
yeah, they're just incredible.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're like vampires. You get around them, and you just want some of that,
Yes.
some of that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
uh, I speak of that often, that if we come into the planet with that energy, and it's so clear, everybody that spent time with a brand new baby
Hmm.
knows it. They're like, oh my gosh, they're just pure love. We say things like, oh, in the presence of God, what a miracle, all of these things and then and then we start to condition them out of it,
Yeah, I know.
you know and then at the end they're 90 or 85 or whatever, 110, and they're
Yeah,
dying, and they're back in that state, just like you said.
yeah, you go back. Yeah,
And we're nothing, we're just there in bliss. And why couldn't we visit that throughout this lifetime?
we can. Yes,
Yes.
yeah, for
and,
sure.
and
But to kind of to allay anyone who's feeling pretty rough at the minute is that um, the teaching for it is not easily accessible. It's getting more so now with the internet and stuff, but during my growing up, it wasn't there, and that's no excuse. I just wasn't called to it. And but yeah, for anyone that is sort of like, this sounds like gobbledygook, it, it it's not as easily accessible, especially certain families and stuff. It's just not there.
no, it isn't. I mean,
You can find it. So
I was talking to a lady today, and I said, how old were you? I asked her, when you first realized that something was amiss,
mm,
you know, and she said that she was about 7.
mm-hmm,
And when she realized that not there was something amiss here, that things weren't as they said,
mm-hmm,
and I also was probably, preteen. And when I was like, you know, uh, not only did I just not feel like I didn't fit in, but there was a story going on, and there was something I was missing, the core of it somehow, and I struggled to try to find it in the practical, in life, and in school, although I didn't go to school that much, but in society, and I didn't find it there.
yeah,
And I used to find it in the woods. When I was a kid, I would go to the woods,
yes,
by myself.
yeah, yeah,
And I was kind of a weird kid that, I would leave my friends and go off for hours in the woods, and sit and feel it. And I had no words for it.
I do. Yeah, I found it in sport actually. It was for me. It was
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
just that would take me into the zone. But it was always sports on my own, never group or team sports, which probably says
So
something.
you're like skiing?
So when I was younger, because I grew up in the UK, it was mostly it just went through what was popular at the time, I guess, like BMXing and then roller skating. Then skateboarding was a huge one for me, and that became. And then I did motocross. That was a massive. That was
Yeah, it's got to be in skateboarding, because all the kids that have just found their bliss
yeah,
in skateboarding, you know, and they're there because they can get lost in that. That
yes,
can disappear
yeah,
in BMX and skateboarding. Black Diamond runs on the ski hill.
yeah.
You know, uh, I remember jumping out of an airplane once. Um, I had a parachute. Uh,
I wouldn't have questioned if he didn't, by the way.
and but part of it was that I had heard that that space was there, and it didn't work for me. I didn't get to that. I did it even twice. it didn't work because I never got out of the fear, I didn't find that space. I really got stuck in it. But for me on the motorcycle, on my Harley, uh, you
Yeah.
know, going down the road, not always, but often there, you know, and so when we teach meditation, you teach meditation, and I have been as well.
Yeah.
My whole aim is to help people drop into that space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
That's a
and
good space.
and what I share with them is that through practice, they
Yeah.
become familiar with this space, and they've become familiar with the language,
Yeah.
and they recognize that they're not their mind, that their mind is a tool,
Hmm.
and that they can actually watch the mind. And that separation where is the beginning of really of consciousness or awareness of consciousness. When we are watching the mind, we're like, oh my gosh, look, and it has thoughts,
Yeah.
and the thoughts are not us either, you
Yeah.
know. So that's a beautiful thing when that happens, and it's the beginning of awakening.
Yeah. And I think some of the really big ones is one of the most apparent for me is I was having like anger issues after the accident, after my head injury. Like, and
Yeah.
I never had those in my life. And then I was getting this rage that I'd want to just scream at people, and then I learned all these different tricks for kind of reprogramming the mind and stuff. And I would be at the point where I was just full of rage, and I'd do these techniques, and then all of a sudden it would be gone, like in a split second, and it was something that felt so real. And then I don't know, it's probably 5 minutes later, it was completely gone. And I remember my mind going, "Oh, hang on, we were really angry. This should have lasted 4 or 5 days of anger here." And we kind of just lucky that someone had taught me something, and I learned this trick, and all of a sudden it was gone. And then I was just, my mind kind of went, oh, it was like I've got nothing to, I can't make anything up to tell you that this isn't real. That it isn't real, that the mind is the thing that was causing you to be angry, and your beliefs and stuff. And that was a really intense but a really wonderful experience, because it was so black and white. And this is
Nice.
this is where good and bad, black and white, can be really amazing. Like, it can really teach you incredible things, or make you aware of incredible things. And um
Well, it is black and white in a sense, but when we come out of the ego into the moment, in the moment, there's no right or wrong or good or bad. You
yeah.
know, in the where we've come out of, uh, or out of that anger or
Hmm.
fear. Um,
Yeah.
in the 12-step program, I don't know if you've heard, but I sometimes talk about
Yeah.
uh, the 12-step program, and it has a little prayer. Now, for me, I believe my experience is that prayer brings us into the moment,
It does. Yeah, I think
and
so.
so if I run into somebody who or in my life, not physically, but who's acting out in a you know in a way that kind of gets me, and I'm like, oh, wanting to either run away from that person or challenge them,
Hmm.
fight or flight.
Yeah.
And um you know and if I'm present enough, I realize that maybe that person is hurting, maybe
Mm.
that person has fears of their own, maybe. And I how do I come out of it is through prayer. And so I say God, and I use God, now, love, infinite intelligence, all in the same, to me they're the same. But I'll say, God, save me from being angry. you
Mm.
know how can I be of help to this person? And
Hmm.
so that prayer brings me into the moment, and then how can I be of help brings me to my purpose. and
Hmm.
and uh, uh, and it's just like, oh, and it clicks me, just like you said. It's out of the anger,
Yeah.
not running around calling people to tell them what an asshole so and so is, for 3 days, you know. And the same thing with fear, because when fear comes up, I can do the same thing. I can ask to have it removed. I can use God, which is again the moment, love,
Yeah.
you know, take away my fear and show me what you'd have me to be. And as I bring presence to what's happening in the moment, be it fear or anger,
Yeah.
um, in the light of presence, fear or anger fades away. In the light of love,
Yeah.
fear or anger disappears, and then I'm there, whoever I am is.
Mhm.
I am that. I am love. I am, and I am there. And so this is you've had the experience, and so I encourage you.
I am no, I am working. I'm just trying to find a way that um, I enjoy, like a way that I enjoy to deliver it at the same time. So at the minute, I've just been doing daily live meditations with kind of a little bit of teaching in it, but not too much. But
So
that's where
you're doing a video every day.
I have been, yeah, for I think I don't know, 40 days, something like that, maybe 35, 40 days. So
So we'll post your YouTube channel on this,
sure, yeah,
if you don't mind,
yeah,
and
totally,
and
yeah,
also on my YouTube, because this is going to be on YouTube as well, and
yeah, for sure.
we'll see what we can do to drive some traffic, because everybody relates to different ways of this message being delivered.
Totally,
You
yeah, yeah. It's no there's no one way that is the way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all the way.
yeah, yeah. And actually, kind of a deep understanding of that sometimes is a thing that kind of can halt you from even kind of pushing yourself out there, maybe because you're kind of like, oh, there's no one way, they can go wherever, and you kind of get a little bit too,
Well,
a
yes,
little
but
too chilled out, maybe.
yes, unless you're called. Like for me, I did that for a lot. I said no to the call.
Mm,
I did. I mean, I felt it intensely for a long time. And I
yeah.
was like, ego said no. Ego said no. I didn't say no. Ego said, no, we need to get rich first.
Mm, mm.
We need to, so, but I physically remember saying no. And I until almost everything was stripped away.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And, the businesses were gone.
Yep.
uh the relationships were gone. There was just like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, I know. I've been there, right? So I know. Yeah,
Yeah, so it is, forgive me, but it's the road to freedom.
it is. Yeah,
It's help enough people. This is a spiritual principle, I believe. Help enough people get what they want, and I think people want freedom. Help enough people get what they want, and you get what you want.
yeah,
It delivers.
yeah,
It
yeah.
you, I had a friend, Ray Ward, years ago, and he used to say, he said he gave and gave and gave until he got it all. And not that we're doing it for that. It's
Mm.
just that it's a natural, it's the law.
Yeah, and in addition to that is that you can't give what you don't have. So
Well,
this
that's
is
not true. I think that's bullshit. I
you
think
still
that's an ego way of saying, uh, you, because you do have it.
no, that's where I'm getting to.
Okay.
So the story is that you can't give what you don't have, but the fact that you're giving it means that you've got it, basically. Like
Yes,
it's in
and
you.
and and you may feel incomplete. I mean, or sometimes some humility,
Yeah,
really, because we don't know until we need to know. You
yeah.
know, I think that it's like this conversation. We didn't plan this conversation. We other than I sent you a couple of questions, which we didn't do any of, hardly.
Yeah, I kind of thought that might happen, but there you go.
And
You know what though? I did answer some. This is how organized and prepared I was. I actually went through them and wrote a couple of bits.
oh, did you?
A little bit.
um, I went for a COVID test yesterday,
Okay.
uh, and because I have this cold, although I've had it for about 3 weeks, and the body has had it, uh,
Hmm.
and but then somebody I knew a few days ago tested positive,
Hmm.
and I had spent very little time with that person and not in close contact, but enough that I thought, okay, shit, I'll go get another test, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of waiting for the response to come on my phone
Hmm.
today, because they text us and tell us whether we're whether we're, what the story is. Have you
Hmm.
ever had a COVID test?
No.
Um, well, I haven't got a response yet, and the, so who knows? But you might notice I have a bit of a chest
Oh yeah.
cold. I know it's a funny time, because
Mhm.
uh, you can't have a cold or the flu. We're not allowed to have anything. It's all COVID now. The catch-all. Catch-all. So, what's the plan for the next year then? You're gonna come out more,
I am. Yeah, yeah. Like more visible. I'll be more
get get
visible.
get naked.
I don't know if the world's ready for that yet, but we'll yeah, just more visible and just finding a way for that to be um,
But don't, my suggestion is what I do is actually I pray about it. I
okay.
I I, I say, again, I'm asking universal intelligence the moment to show me, you
Hmm.
know, and not relying on my reserves of knowledge, you
Yeah.
know. And it doesn't mean that I'm not available to look at more direction on how to be more successful, if you will, carrying a message on YouTube or whatever. I mean, I am studying as well, but
Hmm.
I'm really just saying, okay, this is not, you know, this is, you asked me to do this, and I'm here. I am. So could you, whoever the you is, the big you, that isnness. Uh, uh,
Which is you if you go down that route.
yes.
You
Well,
talking to
it
yourself.
is me. But when there's a part of me, if he wants to run it,
Yeah.
that's the small me,
Yeah.
and do you know what I mean? There's
I
the
do.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the large S self and the small S self,
Yeah.
and um, so just try to get out of the road,
Yeah.
to say yes, yes, okay, I'm in, and show me what you'd have me to do, how to do this, give me strength, give me knowledge, show me what to do, so I'm just turning it over a lot, and
Yeah.
not to the extent that, we're not going to do anything, because we're doing something. This
Yeah.
is it,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful.
You
Um,
got to take a couple of steps to get good walking. So
what would you like to, if we were to finish this soon, what would you like to leave people with?
um who knows? I'll say some bits, but obviously everybody is different. Everybody has different perspectives. So I could say one thing, and 100 different people would think it was a
Doesn't
different.
matter.
So, um,
That might be only one person that hears what you're saying and it really
yeah,
clicks. That's
totally. And that's my perspective, is what I think it is, right? But looking inside is that's going to be said a lot, especially at the minute. Like there's still quite a bit I see of kind of it's always them, it's outside, it's let's throw mud at them, and you can't throw mud at someone if you don't have a pile of mud inside you to throw. So it's looking inside but not being tough on yourself, like and to look inside, not to be a better person, like or any of those sort of things, but just to release some suffering, like really, like just release some suffering and just find some different stuff in life if you're ready. If you don't want to, then don't. Like there's no there's no like there's no grading on this, like no one's grading you, but um all I can say is that I'm a lot happier living life as I am now than I was before, and life before was I thought was pretty great anyway. So with lots of ups and downs and health issues and all that sort of stuff, but I mean, so that's one thing. Going inside, gratitude will always help you, always. It's like a magic eraser. Whatever is ailing you, if you can find gratitude in it, just biochemically it releases. Like it's, even if you don't go on a spiritual level, just literally biochemical. Like when you're grateful for something, your body lets go, your mind lets go, sorry, and then your body's able to let go. That's um, there's lots of spiritual stuff speak about that, which is very different, and then kind of law of attraction, all these sorts of things. But yeah, gratitude is so incredible. Being a conscious creator of what you wish. Um, so if you want to do this to get more peace, like if I do this, I'll be more peaceful. Just picture what is peacefulness. Like at some point, everyone's had peace for a split second. And if you know what that physically and chemically feels like, you can just recreate it within yourself. Like you can recreate any emotion that you want actually at any time quite easily. Like, so that's another skill that can really help you to shift quickly. And, feel feelings, but let go of the meanings for those feelings is another huge one for allowing energy to shift. Like I'm a feely person and always was. And that was kind of my challenge growing up, that I seemed very different to everyone. And now I've kind of come into my own with it to as much as I can at my abilities at the moment. But feeling, if you've got something there, feel it. It's usually stuck emotion. And if you can feel it, but feel it without any meaning to it, like, because not judging it, just allowing to be with it, go really, really deep inside, just feel it. When you get that right, stuff can just disappear in a split second. When you feel stuff, because happiness flows through us so easily. It flows, maybe not if we feel depressed, but when those points when we are super happy, it flows so easily, and almost to the point where people want more of it. Oh, I want more happiness, so they take stuff to get more happiness. But when we are feeling miserable, we don't want that stuff, so we get stuck with it because we don't want it, so we don't feel it. Actually, we kind of feel it, but we stop it. We don't feel it deeply. But when things that we enjoy, things that our mind has said, oh, this is great. Because some people like pain. Some people love pain. Actually, they go and people whip them. They pay people to whip them. So some people find joy in that. So they actually so much joy that they'll pay for it. Other people will avoid pain at any cost. So it's a lot of it is programming, really. It's kind of how we're programmed, and let go of the reason that you have all that stuff and start feeling inside, but letting go of the meaning of it. Because stories are great, actually. I know we talk a lot about stories, but stories are wonderful. I read stories to my daughter every evening. But if I read her the story about, I don't know, He-Man or whatever it may be, and if she starts putting meaning to that it's real, and then yeah, that can become an issue. But the story on its own is nothing. But as soon as we attach meaning to it, it can become a big emotional deal, right? So just by feeling and letting go of the meaning, even if it just kind of means blanking your mind for a minute as best you can, and just feeling deeply. And a lot of pain and suffering is emotion, stuck emotion. It really is. Like,
Did you think that we're a bit addicted to, I call the mind the meaning making machine?
Oh yeah, I was addicted to lots of stuff. Yeah.
Making meaning.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. I think it's very hard to live. Well, I found it very hard to live sometimes without some meaning. Like it was, and when all that kind of fell away, actually, it was those moments where it went very empty. It was quite scary to have so much emptiness. There was too much silence and time to think about other stuff. Like I was like, well, maybe some thoughts will come in that I don't want. Like I'll rather have these ones that I'm used to. Like they're not pleasant, but I'll stick with those, because if I get rid of those, then maybe I'll get some other ones that are worse. Maybe it'll get much worse. Or I remember those times so vividly, and I'm happy that I can look back at them with fond memories now. But yeah, it was really unpleasant at one time to be in those places.
So the empty place.
Yeah, that can be a very scary place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Falling back, doing the trust fall into emptiness.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the mind can really freak out.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's there's so much to it, I guess, to explain. Like sometimes I can't put stuff into words. Yeah, I'm even stumbling here on words to try and explain stuff.
But no, I think that you explain it really well. And I think that that's a big thing to feel.
Oh, I have one thing. Sorry, one thing that's just popped out. This is the last thing on it. Is that
Yeah.
so when we have a thought and it basically creates a physical sensation, usually, like whether we're against it or on it, is that it's really that feeling is what we're worried about. It's not so much the thought, it's what the thought creates, which is this feeling. So
Yes.
when we learn skills that are able to kind of calm the physical body,
Yes.
it really aids to be able to let go of stuff with the mind. Because when you don't physically feel anything, I remember times I did some techniques where I was really, I had a certain thought and there was a lot of emotion, usually fearful stuff actually. And the fear was a really strong fear. And then I had these techniques to just kind of, it would allow my body just to kind of reset and let go of these fears. Some of it was sitting in ice cold water. There was all sorts of different stuff. But as soon as I was able to get rid of the fear, the thought actually lost all of its weight because it couldn't give me a physical reaction anymore. There was nothing for it to bounce off of. And they kind of
Yeah.
bounce between each other, like the mind and the body, mind and the body.
Yes.
So that's another big thing as well. Like, and you can do that through meditation and yoga and all sorts of
Mhm.
really incredible things. There's emotional therapies now that allow you to kind of process emotions. There's a lot of stuff coming online now
Yeah.
that people can utilize. Yeah.
I found that spending time with Muji or Hawkins or Eckhart Tolle,
Yes.
those guys all help us with language,
Yes.
because the sometimes the problem seems to be that we don't have the words,
Yeah.
and so they're like they have the PhDs in this field,
Mm-hmm.
and for want of a better description, and so if we sit in their master's program
Yeah.
or the PhD program ourselves,
Yeah.
if we're called to be also the messenger,
Yeah.
um, so I encourage people all the time to sit with these guys, because you know it gives us a language. Language is
Yeah.
the vehicle that allows us to move things, if you
Yeah.
will.
And it gives a vibration as well. Like we're all vibration. That's it. We're all energy. That's what everyone's. They're coming more to terms with that now. That
Yeah.
everyone's. And just by standing, I mean, everyone will know the time when you've stood next to someone who has a lot of anger inside them, and all of a sudden you're feeling angry for no reason, or someone who's very happy and you feel the happiness. That's why when kids are giggling, you can't stop laughing usually.
Yes.
So I think also when they deliver their words, if they're, especially those guys, because they're doing it from their heart, is that they're speaking from the heart. So what they're sending you is, I believe, the vibration of kind of love, whatever wrapped in their words, and it's delivered in that kind of capture.
Yeah.
When you
So you're right. I think they're transmitting.
yeah, you receive it. You
There's
receive
a
it. So
transmission that
yeah,
happens between the words, in the words, in the vibration, and
that's it.
but I mentioned it for you because um, unquestionably this is your year. You're coming out, and and you're a student as well. I think you've been a lifelong student, and
Yeah,
to
yeah.
spend some time with some of these guys, just uh to pick up some language.
Yes. And I have the last few months actually, I've kind of, and that was a kind of an ego thing as well. Like, but there was two sides to it actually. I didn't When I was recovering, I was so susceptible to other people's words. So when I went to the doctor and the doctor said, we're going to test you for diabetes, all of a sudden I was having symptoms for diabetes. So I made a point at one time to say, well, I'm not going to listen to stuff because I don't want to be kind of controlled by other people's thoughts, really. And it's not, it's just allowing myself to be controlled, really.
Yes.
So for a long time, I just, I'm going to do my own journey in it. The way I did it was maybe a painful way and kind of an uphill struggle, the way I did it. But it allowed me to personally just to learn that I had it within me without someone else telling me I had it within me. But
Yes.
but now that I've got enough confidence and I've got rid of enough of that ego that kind of was kind of perpetuating that and the meanings behind it, is that now actually I get a lot of benefits from listening to these people and their knowledge and their
Who have you been listening to?
so all different types of healers and stuff really. So not Chris, I have Gaia. Do you know Gaia TV?
Yes, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people on there, and they're not always really massively well-known names, but they have huge histories behind them, and a lot of so yeah, lots of them. I mean, Eckhart Tolle was a lot, but I haven't listened to him for quite some time actually.
There's a guy who has a podcast. It's called Buddha at the Gas Pump.
Okay,
So it's kind of like you're, Buddha down the street, kind
yeah,
of it's a very Buddha at the gas pump gives it a, like it's very, it's not very threatening. It's like, oh, but anyway, this guy has interviewed so many great teachers
Cool.
over the last 15 years, you know.
Mhm.
He's quite an awake individual himself, but he is really, you know, you can pick through his stuff, and
Mm.
he's really interviewed some great teachers, you know,
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
and there's been, you know, like thousands of awakened people on the planet at different
Sure.
stages
Mm.
of consciousness,
Yeah.
um, that you know don't we don't ever hear from, or they're very low key, or they're very, you know, they're
Totally.
working with a small group of people, so but have a great message. So yeah, I
Yeah.
liked him. Wood at the gas pump.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm yeah, and I do read. I was reading lots of like medical people that went into kind of spiritual. That was a big thing for me at one time because I was studying in kind of the medical field
Yes.
before I kind of shifted here and had my accident.
Yeah.
But
Hawkins
those,
Hawkins, a doctor, a
yeah,
psychiatrist.
so I will enjoy him. I know. Even Joe Dispenza, I didn't read anything about him for a long, long time.
Joe's quite a character.
Yeah, I like his stuff as well.
And do you know who I've been listening to lately? I don't. She has a PhD, but is Brene Brown. Have you ever heard of her?
I have, yes. Yeah, yeah. She's the yeah, I do know. She had a YouTube video that went just blew up. I remember
14
TED,
million.
TED
Yeah,
Talk, isn't it? Yeah, yeah,
a TED Talk on vulnerability. But
yeah,
she's like, she has been interviewed by Oprah and so many people. She and written several books, and
yeah,
has her own podcast, and she's amazing. You know,
yeah,
she really is. And on some subjects that help us, you know, if we want to be helping people, you
yeah,
know, she's given me a whole language around shame
yeah, yeah. And
that
she's
I
very authentic. She was very authentic, I found.
that I didn't have before,
Yeah.
and I found that actually I wasn't very patient
Mm.
with people,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, because it psychologically, some of those holds, like shame is this you know, very low vibration, but it's a has a strong hold on people, and
Yeah.
and
Mm.
you know, busting it out with a stick doesn't seem to work. You know, it has to be melted out with love.
Yeah, you got to integrate all of those. Like you can't be whole without all of that stuff within you. You really can't. Like
Well, having it within and not having a language
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. It's
it is,
not allowing it to control you, but it's all of
yeah,
that stuff. Like all of these fully, like Christ consciousness would be that you are everything, but you're basically choosing which bit you're kind of expressing. I guess really, it's
in each moment. And of course, we're all, if not Christ conscious, there is that Krishna, that Christ within all of us.
yeah, yeah.
It,
Well, yeah, or whoever, yeah, whoever is
however
you
you
prefer. But
describe
yeah,
that, the
yeah,
oneness.
yeah, totally.
Buddy, thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's always fun when we get together. And I would like to, I'll, if you text me,
Yeah,
you know, the YouTube channel, we'll
yeah,
put it
sure.
on here,
Yeah,
and see if we can, you know, make your YouTubes a little more visible.
sure.
And
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I'm going to, so I'll do it on 3 or 4 channels,
Okay.
uh, and um, and it's up to you whether, well, I guess you're going to take this. I think you can download it uh,
Okay.
from
Okay.
from
You,
Zoom, and put it on your YouTube.
oh, I can. Okay. All right. That's new to me. All right. I will definitely do that.
Yeah, you might have to clip a little out of it, you know, from the front end,
Okay.
because it'll have all that setup stuff. But
Okay.
all right, listen, love you,
Yeah.
and
You too, man. Love you too, man. Have a great
thank
one.
you, and you know, I hope you have an amazing 2021.
Yeah.
In
We'll
each
just do our best. That's,
one moment at a time.
that's it. Yeah. We'll just keep doing our best. And
Yeah,
that's it.
okay. Love to your family.
Yeah. You too, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll see
See
you
you.
soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.